The bright lights of Nexus Station never went out. Aliens from 100 worlds moved through its crowded halls, trading goods and secrets. In a dark corner of the station, a nervous Vraxian diplomat sat across from the most feared mercenary leader in this part of space. "I need your help," said the diplomat. His blue skin glowed faintly in the dim light. "My people's colony on Vega 9 has been taken over by humans. The Galactic Council will not help us." Guildmaster Thraz leaned forward. His reptile-like face showed no emotion, but the 4 cybernetic eyes on his face scanned the diplomat carefully. "Tell me more," he said. The Vraxian pushed a small data chip across the table. "Everything is here. The humans claim our mining operation breaks council law. They took over our main building 3 weeks ago." Thraz picked up the chip and plugged it into his wrist computer. Information flowed across his screen. His eyes narrowed when he saw a particular detail. "These aren't just any humans," he said slowly. "These are their special forces, elite soldiers." "Yes," the diplomat nodded quickly. "Only 12 of them. But they have prevented all our attempts to retake the facility." "Deathworlders," Thraz muttered. The word hung in the air like a curse. Humans came from Earth, a planet so dangerous that the Galactic Council classified it as a death world. Most aliens couldn't even survive there. The gravity was too strong, the weather too extreme, the animals too fierce. The humans who evolved on Earth were built to survive conditions that would kill most species. And their special forces were the most dangerous of all. "I will need twice the normal payment," Thraz said. The diplomat's eyes widened. "Twice? That's not enough, probably," Thraz interrupted. He rolled up his sleeve to reveal a metal arm where flesh should be. "Last time my guild faced Earth's special forces, only 3 of us made it back alive. A single human took my arm off. He had been fighting for 3 days without sleep." The diplomat swallowed hard. "Are they really that dangerous?" Thraz's laugh was cold. "You have no idea. They don't fight like normal soldiers. They hunt. They stalk. They kill." He tapped his metal fingers on the table. "They are predators wearing the skin of civilized beings." After a long moment, the diplomat nodded. "Very well. Double payment. But I need results." When the diplomat left, Thraz called in his second-in-command, a battle-scarred alien named Krax. "Gather our best fighters," he ordered. "The strongest, the smartest, the most experienced. We have a contract on Vega 9. "What's the target?" Krax asked. "Human Special Forces," Thraz said. Krax's face darkened. "Humans. From Earth." "Yes," Thraz said. He looked down at his metal arm. "And Krax, tell everyone to put their affairs in order before we leave. Not all of us will be coming back." Outside the window, the endless stars glittered coldly. Somewhere out there, 12 human soldiers were waiting. And they didn't know that they were now being hunted. Or perhaps they did. The Mercenary bar on Nexus Station was filled with the sounds of rough laughter and clinking glasses. Fighters from many different alien species sat at tables, trading stories and drinking strong drinks. When Krax entered and announced the new mission, the room went silent. "The target is a human outpost," he said, "defended by their special forces." Davik, a tall alien with shiny scales that changed color with his mood, spat out his drink. "Humans? The Deathworlders? Count me out. They're just flesh and blood like us," Krax argued, but his voice lacked confidence. From the darkest corner of the bar, an old mercenary named Volger stood up. Everyone turned to look at him. Half of his face was covered in burned scars, and one eye glowed red with a cheap replacement. He walked with a heavy limp towards Krax. "You've never faced them, have you?" Volgar asked. When Krax didn't answer, Volgar nodded. "I thought so." "Were you at the Siege of Centauri?" someone asked. Volgar nodded slowly. 6 years ago, I was part of a peacekeeping force. 800 trained soldiers against 12 human special forces operators." He took a deep breath. Only 200 of us walked away. A young mercenary laughed. That's just stories to scare us. Volgar's artificial eye flashed brighter. Is it? I watched one of them lift a metal beam that would crush any of us. I saw them continue fighting with injuries that should have killed them. I watched them go days without sleep, always moving, always killing. He pulled up his shirt to show a long scar across his chest. One of them did this to me with a simple knife, cut through my armor like it was paper. But why are they so dangerous? Asked a four-armed alien sitting near the bar. They don't have our technology or our numbers. Because they evolved on a death planet, Volgar explained. Earth has higher gravity than most worlds. It has extreme weather, deadly predators, and natural disasters that can destroy entire cities. Humans had to become tough just to survive there. He sat down heavily at a table, and others gathered around him. Their bones are denser than ours. Their muscles are stronger. They can run for hours without stopping. Their bodies heal faster. They can eat foods that would poison us. That's just physical, Krax said. We have better weapons. Volgar laughed without humor. It's not just their bodies. It's their minds. They think differently. They turn any environment into a weapon. They set traps. They study their enemies and learn our weaknesses. One by one, mercenaries began to walk away from Krax. By the end of the night, half of those who had agreed to the mission had backed out. Thraz entered the bar and found Krax sitting alone, looking worried. They're scared, Krax said. The ones who are still willing to go want triple pay. Thraz nodded. Pay them whatever they want. We'll need every fighter we can get. He looked around at the mostly empty bar. And find more. We leave for Vega 9 in 2 days. As they walked out, Volgar called after them. You won't come back. None of you will. The humans won't just kill you. His voice dropped to a whisper. They'll make you understand why everyone fears them. By then, it will be too late. Outside, the endless dark of space pressed against the station windows. Somewhere in that darkness, 12 human soldiers were waiting. And they were ready. Mira worked in a small room filled with screens and computers. She was a Scytherin, a small alien with 6 thin arms and large eyes that could see things others couldn't. She was the smartest person in the Blood Talon mercenary group. This is what we know about the humans on Vega 9, she said to the group of mercenaries gathered around her. On the main screen, she showed a 3D map of a building surrounded by rocky hills. The human team calls themselves Ghost Team. There are 12 of them, all Special Forces soldiers from Earth. She tapped a button, and the image changed to show a human male with short hair and hard eyes. This is their leader, Captain Lucas Hayes. Thraz studied the human's face. What do we know about him? Mira shook her head. Not much. Most of his military record is hidden. We know he fought in the Martian Uprising and the Titan Crisis. He is considered one of Earth's best soldiers. She showed more images of weapons and equipment. The humans are using advanced Earth weapons. Their guns can fire in any environment. Their armor can stop most energy weapons. A mercenary raised his hand. What are their weaknesses? Everyone has a weakness. Mira looked uncomfortable. That's the problem. These humans are different. They've been given special drugs to make them stronger. Their minds have been trained to resist fear and pain. Their bodies have been improved with the best technology. She paused, then added, but they are still made of flesh and blood. Extreme heat will kill them. Space vacuum will kill them. Enough damage to their bodies will kill them. They are not immortal. But even as she said this, no one in the room looked convinced. What about the battlefield? Thraz asked. What are we walking into? Mira changed the screen to show detailed maps of the area around the human outpost. The humans have had 3 weeks to prepare. They've changed the defense systems of the building. They've set up positions in the hills. They've turned the whole area into what they call a kill zone. A what? Krax asked. A kill zone, Volgar explained from the back of the room. An area completely controlled by the defender, where attackers have no cover and can be shot from multiple directions. Mira nodded. Exactly. And that's not all. Our intelligence suggests they've been studying the local environment. They know the terrain better than we do, even though we have the maps. As the briefing continued, Thraz felt something he rarely experienced: doubt. He had led the Blood Talons on hundreds of missions across dozens of worlds. They had fought against the most dangerous enemies in the galaxy. But something about these humans was different. It wasn't just their physical abilities or their technology. It was something more basic, something primal. When the briefing ended, Thraz stayed behind with Mira. "Tell me the truth," he said quietly. "What are our chances?" Mira's large eyes blinked slowly. "If they were normal soldiers, even elite ones, I would say we have a good chance. We have more fighters, better ships, and superior firepower." She looked at the image of Captain Hayes still on the screen. "But these are human special forces from a death world. They don't fight like normal soldiers. They fight like they were born to it." Thraz nodded. For the first time in his long career, he was going into battle expecting to lose. The three large ships moved silently through space toward the planet Vega 9. Inside, 48 mercenaries checked their weapons and armor. Their plan was simple: land in the darkness, surprise the humans, take control of the outpost, and leave before anyone knew what happened. "Remember," Thraz told his fighters, "these humans are dangerous, but they are still just 12 soldiers. We have better equipment and more fighters. Stay together, follow the plan, and we will succeed." As the ships entered the planet's atmosphere, red lights suddenly flashed throughout the cockpit of the lead ship. "We're being targeted," shouted the pilot, his four hands moving quickly over the controls. "But that's impossible. Our ships can't be seen by normal sensors." The sky lit up with bright flashes as weapons fired from the ground. Two of the ships exploded immediately, breaking apart in flames. The third ship, carrying Thraz and his command team, was hit in the engines and began to fall. Emergency landing. The pilots screamed, fighting to control the damaged ship. They crashed hard in a forest, miles away from where they had planned to land. The impact threw everyone against their safety straps. Smoke filled the cabin. "Everyone out," Thraz ordered, unbuckling himself and helping others to the exit. They gathered in a small clearing surrounded by strange alien plants. Of the 48 mercenaries who had started the mission, only 33 were still alive. The others had died in the two destroyed ships. "How did they see us?" Krax asked, his voice shaking with anger and fear. "Our ships were using the best stealth technology available." Volgar, who had survived the crash with only minor cuts, shook his head. "They knew we were coming. Somehow. They knew exactly when and where we would arrive." A communications expert named Riz adjusted a small device on his wrist. "I'm picking up a transmission from the human outpost," he said. Through the device came a calm human voice. "Ghostly to all stations. First wave neutralized. Prepare for ground engagement. Remember, take prisoners when possible. We need to know who sent them." The mercenaries looked at each other. The human didn't sound excited or worried. He sounded like someone doing a simple job. "Change of plans," Thraz said, trying to hide his own concern. "We need to move now, before they can prepare more. Full tactical spread. All weapons ready." The mercenaries formed into a wide line and began moving through the forest toward the outpost. The 3 moons of Vega 9 gave enough light to see by, but also created many shadows among the trees and rocks. Mira, using a small scanner, suddenly froze. "I'm detecting movement," she whispered. "All around us. Multiple targets, moving fast." Thraz realized with a cold feeling in his stomach that the humans weren't waiting in their base. They were hunting the hunters. "Defensive positions," he shouted, but it was too late. A silent flash of light came from the darkness, and the mercenary next to Thraz fell with a small dart in his neck. 2 more fell before anyone could see where the shots were coming from. Return fire, Krax yelled, shooting his energy weapon into the trees. Other mercenaries did the same, but they hit nothing. More silent shots, more fallen mercenaries. No sound, no muzzle flash, nothing to show where the humans were hiding. Thraz had never felt so helpless in battle. They were being picked off one by an enemy they couldn't see. Fall back, he ordered. Group together, back to the ship. But as they turned to retreat, Thraz knew a terrible truth. The humans were everywhere, and the real battle had only just begun. By morning, 8 more mercenaries had disappeared. The humans struck from the shadows, never staying in one place. They left no bodies behind. Their wounded comrades vanished into the thick forest without a trace. We can't keep losing fighters like this, Thraz said to his remaining team. Only 25 were left now. We need to change our approach. He split them into 3 groups. His team would move toward the outpost, while the other 2 teams would circle around to attack from different sides. Stay in constant communication, he ordered. Report anything unusual immediately. Thraz led his group through the rocky hills. The alien sun was hot overhead, making their armor uncomfortable. After an hour of careful movement, they found signs of the second team. But it wasn't what they hoped for. Bodies lay scattered across a small valley. They hadn't been shot. They had been caught in traps. Some had stepped on hidden explosives. Others had fallen into deep holes lined with poisoned spikes. A few hung from trees, caught in metal snares that had pulled them up to dangle helplessly. This isn't modern fighting, said Davik, the scaled alien who had almost refused to join the mission. His scales had turned a pale green color from fear. They're fighting like wild animals. Volker examined one of the dead mercenaries. No, they're fighting like creatures who evolved on a world filled with danger. This is why humans are so feared. Most species developed intelligence to overcome physical weakness. Humans developed intelligence while already being deadly predators. They tried to contact the third team, but got no response. When they went to look for them, they found only empty space. No bodies, no blood, no signs of fighting. Just abandoned equipment scattered on the ground. Krax, once so confident, now looked around nervously. It's like they're playing with us. No, Thraz said, finally understanding. They're reducing our numbers. They're learning how we fight. They're finding our weaknesses. Suddenly, their communication devices all activated at once. A calm human voice spoke clearly. This is Captain Hayes of Ghost Team to remaining Blood Talon mercenaries. You are surrounded. You have broken council rules by attacking this outpost without permission. Surrender now, and you will be treated fairly according to galactic law. Before Thraz could respond, Hayes continued. In the last 6 hours, we have captured 17 of your fighters alive. The rest chose to fight and paid the price. Think carefully about your next move. When the message ended, Mira checked her scanner. He's telling the truth, she said, her voice shaking. We only have 12 fighters left. 3/4 of our force is gone, and we haven't even seen a human face yet. Thraz looked at his remaining mercenaries. Fear showed clearly in their eyes. These were hardened fighters who had faced terrible enemies across the galaxy, but none of them had ever experienced anything like this. What do we do? Krax asked. For the first time in his long career as a mercenary leader, Thraz had no answer. The humans had turned the entire planet into a weapon against them. They had changed the rules of battle in ways he couldn't understand. And the worst part was, he knew they were watching right now, planning their next move. The hunters had become the hunted. Night fell over Veganine. Thraz and his remaining mercenaries found an old mining building and turned it into a temporary base. They set up traps around the area, placed motion sensors in a wide circle, and made sure their weapons covered all approaches. Even with all these defenses, no one felt safe. Inside the building, Mira accessed information about humans on her computer. The mercenaries gathered around to listen. Humans evolved as hunters, she explained, showing images of early humans chasing animals across wide open spaces. Their ancestors would follow their prey for days, never stopping until the animal collapsed from exhaustion. This shaped not just their bodies, but their minds too. She showed recordings of human special forces from previous conflicts. The mercenaries watched in silence as the humans moved with deadly purpose, using simple tools to defeat enemies with better technology. They don't just want to defeat enemies, Mira said. They want to break their spirit, make them give up before the fight is over. Psychological warfare, Vulgar nodded, breaking the enemy's will to fight. As if on cue, strange sounds began echoing through the building, whispers that seemed to come from the walls, footsteps that moved around them but couldn't be seen, shadows that appeared and disappeared too quickly to track. Some mercenaries fired their weapons at the noises, wasting valuable ammunition and showing the humans exactly where they were positioned. Suddenly, Davik jumped up from his position, his scales flashing bright colors of terror. "Something's in my head," he screamed, clawing at his skull. "Make it stop." He ran outside before anyone could stop him. 2 mercenaries chased after him into the darkness. None of them returned. "What just happened?" Krax asked, his voice shaking. Thraz realized the truth. "They're not just physically dangerous," he told his remaining fighters. "They're using our fear against us. They're turning our own minds into weapons." When morning came, they discovered 3 more mercenaries had vanished during the night without making a sound. No one had heard anything. No alarms had been triggered. Only 7 were left now. All were exhausted, jumping at every sound, looking over their shoulders constantly. Krax, once Thraz's most loyal fighter, finally broke. "I can't do this anymore," he said. "I'm going to surrender." Before Thraz could stop him, Krax walked outside with his hands raised high above his head. "I surrender," he called out. "I'm unarmed." A single shot rang out. Krax fell to the ground, crying out in pain. The shot had hit his leg, not killing him, but making it impossible for him to walk. They waited for the humans to come and take him. But hours passed, and no one came. Krax lay in the open, moaning in pain, just out of safe reach. It was an obvious trap, but the psychological effect on the remaining mercenaries was devastating. They could hear their friend suffering but couldn't help him without exposing themselves. Thraz now understood why the Galactic Council treated humans differently from other species. It wasn't their technology or their numbers. It was what they were at their core, perfect predators who had turned intelligence itself into a weapon. And his team was trapped in their hunting ground. On the 3rd day, with only 6 mercenaries still alive, Thraz made a final desperate decision. "We can't stay here," he told his team. "We're slowly being picked off. We need to make one last push to complete our mission." The plan was simple. They would create a distraction with their remaining explosives, then rush toward the human outpost while the humans were confused. As they prepared to move out, Vulgar suddenly stopped. His good eye widened with understanding. "Wait," he whispered. "I see it now. The humans. They've been moving us like pieces on a game board." Thraz looked at him. "What do you mean?" "Every encounter, every trap, every attack has been pushing us in one direction." Vulgar pointed to their map. "Look at our movement over the past 3 days." Thraz studied the map and saw the truth. All their retreats, all their attempts to find new positions had moved them steadily toward one place, a narrow canyon that led directly to the outpost. "It's the perfect killing ground," Mira said, seeing it too. Steep walls on both sides. No cover. They could position shooters all along the top edges. "We've been herded like animals," Davik whispered. Thraz knew they were right, but they had no choice. Every other path to the outpost would take too long, and they were running out of supplies and energy. "We still have to try," he said. "It's our only chance." They moved out at midday, staying close to the walls as they entered the canyon. The silence was complete. No birds, no wind, nothing. Just their footsteps on the rocky ground. They had gone halfway through the canyon when a calm voice called out from above. "Blood Talon survivors, this is your final chance to surrender." Thraz looked up and saw them for the first time. Human figures in combat suits that blended with the rocks, positioned on both sides of the canyon. Their weapons pointed down at the mercenaries with perfect aim. One human stepped forward, removing his helmet. His face was weathered, with old scars and alert eyes. This was Captain Hayes. "You fought well, considering the circumstances," Hayes said. His voice wasn't mocking or angry. He sounded almost respectful. "But this ends now, one way or another." Thraz looked at his remaining fighters. They were exhausted, low on ammunition, and completely surrounded. Fighting would mean death for all of them. "Lower your weapons," he ordered his team. "We surrender." The humans moved quickly and efficiently, securing the mercenaries and checking them for hidden weapons. They were professional, not rough, but leaving nothing to chance. As Hayes supervised the process, Thraz finally asked the question that had bothered him since the mission began. "How did you know we were coming?" "We were careful. Our planning was secret." Hayes looked at him with something like pity in his eyes. "We've been watching your guild for months. We knew about this mission before you did." Thraz was shocked. Why not just ambush us when we arrived? Why this hunt? Hayes's face hardened slightly. "Because the next time someone offers your guild a contract against human targets, we want your answer to be an immediate no." As they were led away toward the outpost, Thraz finally understood. The entire operation hadn't just been about stopping this one attack. It had been about sending a message. In the human outpost, Thraz sat alone in a small room with metal walls. He expected to be thrown into a dark cell, maybe even tortured. Instead, the room was clean and well lit, with a simple table and 2 chairs. The door opened and Captain Hayes walked in. He carried a bottle of water and a medical kit. "You're injured," Hayes said, pointing to a cut on Thraz's arm. "May I?" Confused by this treatment, Thraz nodded. Hayes cleaned and bandaged the wound with quick, practiced movements. "Why are you helping me?" Thraz asked. "I came here to kill you and your team." Hayes handed him the water. "We're not barbarians, despite what you might have heard about humans." The interrogation that followed surprised Thraz even more. Hayes didn't threaten or shout. He asked questions in a calm, almost friendly way. He wanted to know who had hired the Blood Talons, why they had come to Vega 9, and what they hoped to achieve. When Thraz hesitated to answer, Hayes didn't become angry. Instead, he placed a small device on the table. It projected an image of the Vraxian diplomat who had hired them. "This person," Hayes said, "is not working for the Vraxian government as he claimed. He works for Zencorp, a mining company that wants the resources on this planet. They don't care about council environmental laws." Hayes showed more images, documents, recordings, proof that the diplomat had lied. "You were used," Hayes said simply. "Your guild was hired under false pretenses for a corporate land grab." Thraz felt anger rise inside him, not at Hayes, but at himself for not checking the contract more carefully. His pride as a professional had been wounded. "The outpost we're protecting isn't a military base," Hayes continued. "It's a scientific research station. The scientists here are studying Vega 9's ecosystem, which contains plants that could provide new medicines." Thraz looked at the human with new understanding. "You could have killed all of us," he said. "It would have been easier." Hayes nodded. "Yes, but that's not who we are, despite what the galaxy believes." "Then why maintain the reputation?" Thraz asked. "Why let everyone think humans are monsters?" Hayes's face became more serious. "Because fear keeps the peace better than trust. The Galactic Council once tried to take over Earth, thinking we were just another primitive species to use. They learned otherwise." He leaned forward slightly. "Now they send mercenaries instead of warships. That's progress." For the first time, Thraz saw beyond the fearsome reputation of humans. They weren't mindless killers. They were a species that had learned to use their image as a weapon to survive in a dangerous galaxy. "What happens to me and my surviving team?" Thraz asked. "You'll be transported to a council station and formally charged with violating non-intervention protocols," Hayes said. "But your testimony about being missiled by the Vraxian diplomat will help your case." As Hayes stood to leave, Thraz felt a strange new emotion toward this human: respect. The door closed, leaving Thraz alone with his thoughts. The humans he had feared his entire life were not what he expected. They were more complex, more intelligent, and perhaps more dangerous because of it. While recovering from his injuries, Thraz was allowed to move around parts of the human facility under guard. What he saw changed everything he thought he knew about humans. The outpost wasn't a military base as he had expected. It was mostly a science station. The Special Forces team, Ghost Team, was there to protect civilian scientists who were studying the planet's plants and animals. Thraz watched as these same deadly warriors who had destroyed his mercenary force now helped scientists, joked with local workers, and maintained the facility with quiet efficiency. In the dining area, Thraz observed Hayes' team eating together. They didn't boast about their victories or mock their captured enemies. Instead, they talked about how they could have completed their mission with fewer casualties. "Next time, we should try to capture more alive," said a female human with short black hair. "Killing creates unnecessary enemies." "Agreed," Hayes nodded. "A defeated warrior who returns home with stories of failure does more for our cause than a dead one." When they noticed Thraz listening, they invited him to join them. Cautiously, he accepted. During the meal, the humans talked about Earth. They didn't describe it as the deadly Deathworld that everyone in the galaxy feared. They spoke of its beautiful oceans, vast forests, and endless variety of life. They showed pictures of their families, talked about music and art, and discussed hopes for a future where humans weren't feared but understood. "If you love peace so much, why serve as warriors?" Thraz finally asked. A human woman named Chen answered, "Because the galaxy isn't ready to accept us as equals yet. We tried talking first. It didn't work." Her eyes seemed sad. "So now we speak the language the galaxy understands: strength, until we can be respected for more than our ability to fight." Later, Hayes showed Thraz secret records of humanity's first contact with the Galactic Council. What Thraz saw wasn't the peaceful story taught throughout Council space. It was a tale of betrayal and attempted conquest. "The Council ships came to Earth pretending to offer friendship," Hayes explained. "But they really wanted to take our resources and turn humans into servants. They thought we were primitive and wouldn't fight back effectively." The records showed how the vastly outnumbered humans had fought with desperate courage, using their knowledge of Earth's harsh environment to defeat technologically superior forces. "We became feared because we had to," Hayes said quietly. "The galaxy gave us no choice." For the first time, Thraz saw humans not as natural monsters, but as beings who had been forced to become dangerous. A species that chose to be feared because the alternative was extinction. All this time, Thraz said, the Council has portrayed humans as bloodthirsty savages. "It's easier than admitting they tried to conquer us and failed," Hayes replied. "And we let the stories spread because fear keeps aggressive species from trying again." As Thraz returned to his room that night, he felt troubled. Everything he had believed about humans was based on lies and misunderstandings. The most feared species in the galaxy wasn't naturally cruel or violent. They had simply learned to use their reputation as a shield, and he had helped spread that fear without ever knowing the truth. 6 weeks later, Thraz stood before the gathered members of the Blood Talon Guild on Nexus Station. Of the 48 mercenaries who had gone to Vega 9, only 22 returned, all of them captured rather than killed by the human special forces. The guild master, an old alien with gray skin and 6 eyes, looked down at Thraz from its high seat. "Explain your failure," he demanded. "How did 48 of our best fighters lose to 12 humans?" Thraz stepped forward. The room was silent as he began to speak. He told them everything. how the humans had known they were coming, how they had used the environment as a weapon, how they had broken the mercenaries' will to fight before the battle even started. He described Captain Hayes and his team not as mindless killers, but as perfect soldiers executing a flawless plan. They could have killed us all, Fraz concluded. Every single one of us. They chose not to. Remember that. They chose mercy. When he finished, the hall erupted in angry shouts. Many refused to believe humans could be anything but monsters. Others called for revenge against Ghost Team. Thraz slammed his metal fist on the table, silencing them. Fools. You still don't understand what we're dealing with. His voice dropped low, making everyone lean forward to hear. The humans didn't just defeat us. They controlled the entire battle from beginning to end. We never had a chance. He announced his decision. The Blood Talon Guild would immediately stop taking any contracts against human targets, especially their special forces. No amount of money is worth facing them again, he declared. As the meeting ended, Fraz received a message on his personal device. It contained coordinates for a remote location and a short note. The corporation that hired you has other mercenary groups ready to attack. They're planning something bigger. Fraz understood immediately. Captain Hayes was offering him a chance to restore his guild's honor by helping prevent a larger conflict. That night, in a quiet corner of the station, Fraz met with a human woman wearing civilian clothes. She was from Earth's intelligence service. Captain Hayes speaks highly of you, she said. He says you're smart enough to learn from defeat and practical enough to adapt. Those are qualities humans respect. Together, they began planning a joint operation against the corporation that had tried to take over Vega 9. Why trust me? Thraz asked. I tried to kill your people. The human smiled. A predator's smile, but not unkind. Because sometimes the best allies are former enemies who have seen the truth. She passed him a data device. And because the galaxy needs to see that humans can be friends as well as enemies. As Thraz left the meeting, he overheard a group of young mercenaries from another guild boasting about a new contract against a human outpost. They laughed about how easy it would be. Thraz almost stopped to warn them. Then he simply walked away. Some lessons had to be learned firsthand. The legend of the Deathworlder special forces would grow with one more tale. And perhaps slowly, so too would understanding of the complex species behind the fearsome reputation. Back on Earth, Captain Hayes read Thraz's message confirming their joint operation. He smiled slightly. The mission to Vega 9 had accomplished more than just stopping one attack. It had turned an enemy into an ally. And in the dangerous galaxy they all shared, that was a victory worth more than any battle. The end.